Welcome back, everyone, to the late night review. And tonight I'm going to be talking about one of my very favorite James Bond movies of all time. And it's a movie that I've always liked. And I think it's my second favorite James Bond movies. I mean, there's probably a lot of people who might not agree with me because it's not as grounded as some of the others. Neither is my number one. My number one is The Spy Who Loved Me, and I really like that movie. I think it's kind of the quintessential James Bond movie myself. It's got all the elements that I want in a James Bond movie. And this is probably my second favorite James Bond movie of all time. I'm talking about Moonraker with Roger Moore and Richard Kiel. Jaws is back, and I think one of the main reasons I like this movie is because Jaws is back. He's my very favorite James Bond villain. He's not the smartest villain, I know it, but to me, he's the funnest. He's the most interesting and the most entertaining. Richard Kiel was 7'2", I think, perfect for Jaws. And I wish modern day, if they did it right, I wish they'd bring Jaws back. And if they can't do that, Son of Jaws, bring him back to the modern day James Bond films. Bring back Jaws. It would be so fun if they did it right. If they're not going to do it right, don't bring him back. But if they did it right, which is a big if, then bring Jaws back. Bring him back. But Moonraker is very similar to The Spy Who Loved Me. It's probably why it's my number two. And when I was a kid, For Your Eyes Only was my favorite. I remember that being my favorite when I was a little kid, For Your Eyes Only, because it was more grounded. But I have to say, For Your Eyes Only is still one of my favorites. I love it. It might even be my third or fourth favorite of all the James Bond films. But I really like For Your Eyes Only still. It was my favorite. But over time, as I got into my teenage years and then early adult years, The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker became my favorites, overtaking For Your Eyes Only. I've said it on the channel before. Make sure my microphone's in a good position. But I've said it on the channel before that Roger Moore is my favorite James Bond of all time. I'm a Roger Moore guy. I grew up watching Sean Connery and Roger Moore about the same time. Why? Because my parents rented the videotapes, or we've seen reruns of their films on TV. And a lot of people don't know that Roger Moore was actually the first choice for James Bond before Sean Connery. And I like Sean Connery. There's so many James Bonds that I like. Pierce Brosnan, I think Daniel Craig, Timothy, they all did a good job. Dalton. But James Bond, I call him James Bond. He's my James Bond, but Roger Moore is my favorite. Also remind me of the second cousin that I had. He passed away, God rest his soul, years ago. And his name was Jim. James looked like Roger Moore. But it he's my favorite James Bond. Roger Moore is. He was actually the first choice for James Bond before Connery. And he was busy doing The Saint. He did the TV show The Saint. And so he couldn't be James Bond. So they got Sean Connery. And then after Connery, obviously, they got Roger Moore. And Moonraker, I like it. It's very similar to The Spy Who Loved Me. Instead of dealing with the sea, the world under the sea, like in The Spy Who Loved Me, they're dealing with outer space. A very similar story. Stromberg, and the main bad guy, Stromberg, who had Jaws as a henchman in the first one, he wanted to create a city, a world underneath the sea that he would call Atlantis, while he uses the Soviet Union and America to blow the whole world up in this nuclear exchange, and then they can go above surface and rebuild after it's all over. That was his vision. And this one, Drake's, I think it's Drake or Drake's, the main villain in here, he wants to go into space and then destroy the Earth and then come back and rebuild it. He wants to destroy the Earth with these pods that will release a poisonous gas that will destroy everything living except for I think except for plant life. If I they'll It'll destroy all the humans, but not the plant life. I think. I'd have to check that again. I've seen this movie so many times. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank with that aspect. But anyway, basically the same story. Wants to destroy the Earth, but he wants to be in outer space, come back, recolonize the Earth after mankind has been wiped out. Very similar premise, very similar story, but I like it. I think it works. James Bond has to save the Earth, has to save the day, and there's cool gadgets in here. Jaws is back, which I love, the indestructible Jaws. And people can look at Jaws and The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker as, I know, cheesy and campy, but it's fun. To me, I'm very entertained by The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker, but I also find the two epic. I find both of those films epic. They pretty much have everything that I want in a James Bond movie. Not a small scale story at all. He actually has to save the whole world. He has to save the whole world from this extinction event, from this doomsday scenario in both films. And you have good main villains, and then you have the henchman Jaws, who supports the main villains. You have Roger Moore as James Bond, and he has to fight different guys. There's a cool fight in here between him and the guy that I think he's a samurai, but he doesn't really have a samurai sword. He has a kind of a wooden practice sword he goes after Roger Moore with, and they have a big fight, which is entertaining. It's a James Bond fight and everything. It's not the greatest fight, but it's fun. It's entertaining, and Roger Moore has to figure different things out in here. He has to find out what the main bad guy is up to, where the missing Moonraker. There's a ship that was stolen called the Moonraker. And there was, I think, more than one that was stolen. Roger Moore has to find out who stole them. Sure enough, it's Drac that stole it. Stole them both, I think. There might be two or three or four of them that he stole, and he wants to use these shuttles. Basically, they're like spacecraft that he's going to take to his private space station, and with a select group of people who will go up there, wait for humanity to be destroyed by these pods that he's going to send down to release this poison gas, this element that's supposed to wipe out mankind. After that happens, he's going to come back, repopulate the earth, kind of create it after his own image, and he makes the rules. So the scale of the story is big, not a small scale at all. Very big, uh, very, to me, very interesting and thought provoking. And I like the story. Parts of it are, some of the comedy is cheesy, but I have a good time with it. I actually like the sense of humor in this movie and The Spy Who Loved Me. I think Roger Moore was the funniest James Bond. He had charisma. I think he was, to me, the most likable and down to earth, even though I think they all did a good job. And I believe that Moonraker is, I mean, it's very close to The Spy Who Loved Me. Sometimes I actually like Moonraker a little bit more, but 7 out of 10 times I usually pick The Spy Who Loved Me as my favorite. It does depend on my mood, whether I want to have this adventure take place in space or the sea. You never know, Moonraker might end up being my favorite one day, and I like the cable car fight. Jaws is in the other cable car, and they have that fight on there, and then Jaws is trapped in one of them, and then he crashes into the mountain because the cable car is out of control. And then he meets that girl with the braces on. There's some ridiculous parts in this movie, but I find it fun. It's not slow. I think The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker are fast movies. They're not slow at all. And in fact, one of the reasons I like Roger Moore's movies so much is because his movies had more action than Sean Connery's movies, for the most part. Connery had action, quite a bit of action too. Uh, I thought a couple of them were kind of slow, like Diamonds Are Forever and I tried watching that not too long ago. I couldn't continue it. It was a pretty good movie, pretty good James Bond movie, but I got bored. I never have gotten bored with a Roger Moore film, except maybe Live and Let Die a little bit. I like that movie, but I like The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker much better. I really do. And like I said, the stories are good. They're epic. They're large scale. It's an ambitious plot in both movies, and I think they're both executed well. The story, the action, and the acting, the humor. I think the best humor I think out of all the James Bonds was the Roger Moore films, and The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker had some of the best humor, if not the best in the whole franchise. And I like the chemistry between Roger Moore and Richard Kiel. You know, James Bond and Jaws, the chemistry is really, really good. You see when they're fighting each other, they kind of have a funny kind of admiration for each other in a way. They don't hate each other. You can see they're fighting. Yes, they might be trying to hurt or kill each other, but they have some type of funny jesting going on or admiration for each other, and I enjoy that. This is one of my favorite James Bond movies. It is, and by the way, I should have said at the beginning of the video, some suggest you say it at the end until after the video. Some say at the beginning. I should have said like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe, share this video, let others know about it, hype it up and pump it up so other people can share this type of content. I forgot to say it. I should have said it earlier, but this movie is one of my favorites, probably my second favorite out of all the James Bond films. You never know, one day it might be my number one. It's a spoiler review. Most of the reviews I do, I'm talking about movies I have nostalgia for that have been out for decades. This has been out for decades and decades. I've always loved it. And if you haven't seen it by chance, I think you're in for a treat if you like campy James Bond type movies and fun action movies from the 80s that you can just enjoy and be entertained by. And if you're a James Bond fan, I think you'll like it. Unless you really like the more realistic, kind of disturbing, more grounded films in the franchise, this might not be for you. I mean, I used to like the grounded ones the best too. That's why For Your Eyes Only was my favorite when I was a kid. And then I like License to Kill, and then before that, The Living Daylights. I think that was before, but I've changed over time now. I kind of want to be more entertained nowadays. I think usually it's the opposite. When you're younger, you want to have more of the fun stuff, and then later you want the disturbing. For me, it's kind of the opposite. Now I just want to be more entertained. I've seen enough disturbing things over the years in my life I know what it's about. I don't need to know now. This is really entertaining to me. I like Moonraker. It's one of my favorite James Bond movies of all time, maybe my second favorite. It's one of my favorite movies, period, of all time, Moonraker. So check it out. I think you'll like it if you're into these types of movies. This has been the Late Night Review. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a good night.